in that building right now, especially in the room I've been in. This room and the one prior to it, especially roachy right now. Not a fan of that, to say the least. And you know, they don't allow for you to have boric acid delivered to their building, because I tried that when I first got there, and they had a really bad roach issue early on, and then they got it cleared up. They had a couple sessions where they had people come in and do the pest control, and eventually they had got rid of all the pests in the building. For almost a year we didn't see nothing, but now I guess they're back. So my thinking was, man, I'm not about to sit here for another 10 days in this room and deal with what I'm dealing with. They coming out from under the fridge and in the bathroom area, they're in the crevices, and my thinking is I can do something about that. I've dealt with this type of thing before, as most people who've lived at this level have. So I just bought myself a little bit of a, you know, the stuff that you like squeeze, killer, roach killer to squeeze. I put that in my bag here, and we'll take that back to the unit. Easier to storage, and to be honest with you, I am allergic to Raid. I don't know if allergic is the right word, because I don't really have allergic reactions. It causes me to sneeze quite a bit. And so after going through that a lot in my life, I just learned to stay away from the spray and try to kill them another way. That's why I always go to boric acid. Plus, boric acid is much more effective, because the spray, you spray for give it about 3 weeks, they'll be back. You can spray that stuff down. And eventually it got to a point when I was at Dunsmuir where I had sprayed so much of that stuff that they had become immune to it in a way. In a sense that, yeah, they would die when you spray it on them, but if you spray it around, they still walking around. Like, they got to a point where they just became immune to it. I don't know what the hell that was about, but needless to say, I just went the boric acid way from there on out. Like, no, I'm not going that route no more. Raid, thank you. Black Flag used to work. I don't even know if they still sell that, but that was always good. But I decided to go with the squeezy stuff. So yeah, man, try to do them a solid in that building. I know that they don't really want us to put down too much, but I'm not asking this time. I'm not asking. I'm gonna be honest with you, because if they schedule, first of all, they're having management change as we speak, so I don't know what it's gonna be going forward in management. And if I gotta be the guy that kills the roaches in my unit, I will do it. Not gonna be a problem. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna wait for them to bring the orchid man or whatever the hell. No, we ain't doing that. That'll take, by the time they get around to that, I'll be out of the room. No, we got to do something now. I'm not about to be dealing with that. So yeah, that's what's on my mind. I took care of that. And I found also that this ain't got nothing to do with that, but something else I purchased was mouthwash, the portable ones that you could take with you, because I found that my body no longer tolerates breath mints. Breath mints are, with the stomach issues that I have, I can't do breath mints. It's too strong for my stomach. It creates a lot of problems. So it's like, you know what? I gotta find something. I'm not gonna be walking around with bad breath. I'm too used to being able to pop a mint in my mouth. So I just bought 2 of those little portable ones, put that in my bag, and start buying those from here on out. And anytime I need to take care of that, I can just do it on the street. You know what I mean? So it's the adjustment, man. When you have allergies and you have you know, stomach ailments, whatever the hell I got going on, it gets to a point where you have to eliminate anything that's too strong for the stomach. Stuff that you would take for granted are things I literally cannot have anymore. And so I just gotta live with that, man. I have to live with that, and I'm fine with it because I can manage it. So that's what I did. Bought some of those, and that's about it, man. That's what it is. So that's the kind of stuff that's on my mind right now, to say the least. I talked about all the important stuff in the previous video, all the stuff that's going on in the world. I made a couple Young Thug videos just addressing him. I appreciate everybody who gave those a like. I didn't think anybody that watched me actually cared about any of that, but I just took some real life things from that. And you know, there was a few other things that came about after that video, the last 2 videos were made, that kind of made me question some of what I was seeing, and I had heard a different person's perspective from that situation, and so they made me look at Thug like maybe he wasn't telling the truth. I don't know, man. These are not my people. I don't know these people, you know what I mean? I wish everybody well. I'm a civilian, so I'm not really particularly invested in street activities. The older I get, the less I'm confused about where my role is in that space. Because as a young person, it's like, well, you gotta be cool. Even if you're not a gangster, you still gotta present yourself to be tough. The older I get, the less likely that makes any sense to me anymore. It's just like, yo, I've lived through some real stuff. I know exactly what I'm made of. I don't have to present anything. I think that's a thing that someone does when they don't know how strong they are. When they're not really, you know what I mean, faced with difficulties. After what I've been through these last couple years, I believe myself to be tough enough. I understand that my body doesn't react that well to stress, nor does my mind, so I don't believe I'm tougher than I am. You know, it gets to a point where you're just like, you're comfortable in your own skin. You know what you can deal with, or at least you think you do at this point, and I'm not confused about whether or not I need to be the toughest guy on the block or some gangster or something like that. It's just not. You only care to present something like that when you don't know who you are. And that's speaking for people who are not from that. Those who are from that, like I said, that's not my perspective. I don't know. I just say from a civilian's perspective, the only reason why you're trying to walk around and be tough is because you're not certain how tough you actually are, is what I've learned. You ain't certain how tough you actually are. Some people they understand themselves to be weak, and so they have to present strength. Me, I didn't know what was in there. I really didn't know. So what I wanted to be was tough. Because I thought tough was cool, and I thought tough was respected, and you start looking at those who are tough, and you start really listening to testimony from people who are actually tough. You see what comes of their life. Their lives are tough. The only reason why they present things that are so rough is because they've had so much thrown at them that's hardened them. What you're looking at is a reflection of what's been thrown at a person a lot of the time. It's a reflection of how paranoid they feel they have to be based on their experiences and based on their environments. So to present something that doesn't reflect that from within myself is authentic, because I haven't lived in a space where I had to look over my shoulders 24/7. I wasn't raised in a neighborhood where I had better hold my gun or I could potentially lose my life. I'm not really from that. You know what I'm saying? And I think the people who are from that, they respect civilians who stay out of those lanes, people who know themselves and people who don't try to be something they're not. And then when a grown man is presented with difficulties in his life, you learn who you are, and then you understand that wanting respect from people that are from a different background than you could not necessarily mean as much to you. You know what I mean? I cared what the G's thought before. Now I don't particularly care what the G's think of me right now. I respect grown men who respect grown men, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. But as far as me trying to be tough so that people who are tough will respect me, it's not required for my walk of life, man. It's just not. It's not required. I appreciate people as they show themselves to be genuine and open-minded, or whatever walk of life you're from, whether you're civilian or street, whatever it is. If you leave me to be myself and respect me, look me in my eye and all that, that's good enough for me, man. Don't try to involve me in your stuff. Don't try to, toy with my intelligence. It's good enough for me, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to tell you how to do what you do. And I would expect that we would all respect one another, not to tell each other what it is we should be doing or not doing, unless we have legitimate, helpful advice with good intentions behind that advice. And that's really what it's about. I don't need to teach you how to survive in my world necessarily, just like you don't need to teach me how to survive in yours, unless we're going to be having those worlds collide for any reason. Then it would be required for me to understand what I need to know to survive in your world. Otherwise, if I do over here what you need to do over there, I likely am out of place over here for doing that. So it's like it doesn't equate to what you thought it was when you were a kid, you know what I mean? It just doesn't. And that's the context that I think is missing. That was the disconnect for myself as a young person. I thought I needed to be that way everywhere I went, you know what I mean? Except for like go to church, obviously you ain't trying to be hard, you know what I'm saying? But like you think it translates to you being respected everywhere when it really doesn't actually do that. In some places you want to project yourself to be a gentleman, so to speak, because that's when you're going to get the most respect, not necessarily trying to be tough or trying to be the hardest guy. You want to project yourself to be of humble energy when you want to be respected in certain rooms. Being the toughest guy ain't gonna get you anywhere with certain people, you know what I mean? You really need certain things in those spaces. So it's like, just the older I get, the more I realize that being myself is the best way, truly the best way for me to get anything I need. Not presenting something that doesn't represent my authenticity, but presenting that authenticity and letting it attract whatever's meant for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I really wish somebody would have taught me that as a young person in that context, so that I would have got it in the way that I just described it. Because I think I would have saved a lot of time. I think I would have probably discovered who I was in these regards a lot sooner, rather than being influenced by lost cultures who weren't truly respected in the rooms where they ultimately wanted the most from. You know what I mean? And that's why I tell people, like, even if you are somebody who believes that is the way to be, you're gonna always want to reach higher levels once you start understanding what options are available to you. And you're gonna have to know how to put down some of that tough guy stuff, because it's not gonna gain you much in certain rooms, man. Or, as we were talking about, you know, trying to wage war against people does not create peace. Compliance and peace are not the same thing. You may be able to gain some peace of mind knowing that you have compliance and fear pointed at you. If people are afraid of you, they leave you alone to a degree. But what you got to understand is fear also inspires the overcoming of you. Once you become someone fears, now they have to face their fears in order to overcome their own weaknesses. So you then become a challenge to an ego. And see, and these are the type of things that people don't teach one another when they say, yo, make them fear me. You know, you don't want to be feared necessarily, because then you're inspiring people to just lash. You might have your guard down when somebody decides to overcome their fear. They might want to catch you when you least expect it, because that's when they can ultimately do so. You understand what I'm saying? These are the type of things you can't see. People be trying to attack your blind spots just to overcome their fears for which you happen to be. And so, like, these are the type of things I learned. It's like, man, as I'm watching, and as I mentioned in the video previously, entire governments make this mistake, thinking that they can gain peace by creating enemies. It doesn't actually equate to that. What you end up doing is creating more of what it is that makes life dangerous for you. You create more reasons to have to look over your shoulder. You create more people who ultimately are angry with you. It doesn't actually equate to you finding peace. You may find compliance for a time, but eventually you find somebody who's strong enough to overcome that fear. And as they do, you end up getting attacked in your blind spot. You least expect it. Or you start having individuals coming together, strength in numbers coming at you because you're the big bad wolf and they need to overcome you in order to not be afraid anymore. Some people will crash out to overcome their fears, and as they do, they start becoming dangerous to whatever it is that they fear. And so that's why I don't believe in garnering fear as a means of getting my respect or getting what I need in this world. I don't think it works. It's an ideology I just don't share. I don't think bullying people gets you too far. I really don't. And it displays a certain weakness and insecurity in oneself, a posturing of, so to speak, to say that I need to be this way in order to feel comfortable in my own skin or to otherwise get what I need. As if you can't find another way. You know what I mean? So these are the type of things that I truly believe. And I think whether it's a person in a school doing it or government's doing it, it just doesn't work. It could be a massive army and a dictator doing it, or it could be a dog doing it to another dog. Like, it just, bullying and making people afraid of you does not actually create peace. What creates peace is making friends. And standing in solidarity with people, supporting people, so that when you lay your head down, not only are you certain that you haven't created any enemies, but you know if an enemy does come along, you likely have more friends. You likely have people who will jump through a wall to assure that you're safe because of the devotion that you inspired by giving them some grace. You don't get that from disgrace, you get that from grace. And people are talking about they want to find peace, they want to be able to take over a land or what have you. If you would have befriended everybody in the land, everybody would want you there. If you would inspire wealth and understanding and growth into the land, and you plant into the land and respect the laws of the land, people will be happy to have you around. People going about things the wrong way. And that's just what comes to mind to me when I think about these type of things. So, I don't know. I think that people are going about things the opposite way, an inverted way of thinking as pertains to going after what they want to get what it is that they need. And that's pretty much what I got to say. This is Bdf 44. Thank y'all for watching.